Oh, Mizzou. That was a disaster. That's something that we've never seen before. That's something that Mizzou is good at, showing us things that we've never seen before. New ways to lose games, ways that you didn't even think were possible, new ways to get screwed over by the refs, new ways to lose to Kentucky. What do you even say after that? Anyway, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another video on my channel. My name is Josh Fan of ShowMeFootball.com, and I'm about to review what the hell just happened in Mizzou versus Kentucky 2022. Like, where do I even start? I guess I have to start with the ending of the game, because that's like what you think about when someone mentions this game, or when someone mentions this game in the future. That's what you're going to think about. That end call, the roughing the kicker or the punter in that scenario. I mean, technically, yes, I guess it was the rule, but of course that's the rule against Mizzou, you know? And the crazy thing is, at the time of recording this is 6:30. It's well after the game is over. I saw a play from the Michigan State game where I think it was the Michigan State punter, maybe? I don't know. One of them. Anyway, they got clobbered by the other team. That wasn't a roughing the punter. That wasn't a roughing the kicker. Yet it gets called in this Mizzou game after the ball gets snapped 35 yards over the punter's head. And what I don't understand, and this is why, like, even though technically I guess it's the rule, why it's so BS to me and why I understand why Drinkwitz and the team are pissed off, is because, like, Will Norris, who got the penalty on that play, he tackled the punter, which is what anybody else would have done in that situation, because that was a live ball, okay? A live ball snapped over the punter's head. The punter picks it up, and right as he picks it up, Will Norris is there to tackle him, and they're saying that it was a roughing the punter because he was in the act of punting or whatever. And it's like, but, you know, if you're Mizzou, so you're just supposed to stand there and let him get the punt off even though the ball was snapped way over his head? And it's not like Will Norris knew he was about to punt. He just got the punt off last second. But Will Norris didn't know that. He just went for the tackle, which is what anyone else would have done. And they said that the punter was still in the tackle box, which, you know, I had no idea the tackle box was still 35 yards behind the guy. You know, I always thought that unless the punter or kicker reestablishes themselves as a kicker, that he was a tackleable player, for lack of a better term. He did not reestablish himself before punting that. And that was just a horrible way to lose the game. And I hate it. I hate it for the players. They worked too hard for the game to be lost like that. And optics-wise, this loss sucks because Drinkwitz just got extended today. And I know people have their thoughts on that. And it's a bad look when Drinkwitz gets extended and then he goes out there and loses today. But look, that loss is not on Drinkwitz, okay? It is not. And people are going to bitch about the play calling again, which they've done all year long. Play calling was not an issue today. In my opinion, play calling was not an issue. Yeah, there's going to be play calls that don't work because that's what happens when you have an inept offensive line and inept quarterback. And also on top of it, 2 of the starting guards went down today. And people complain, oh, Eli Drinkwitz, he does all this east and west slow developing stuff, yet people don't like to mention that they tried traditionally running the ball up the middle. They've done HB stretches. They've done in between the tackles runs. Oh, those get stuffed. Those get blown up. And then they try regular downfield passing with Brady Cook, and he overthrows receivers 5-10 yards over their heads. Newsflash, guys, no matter if Eli Drinkwitz brings in an offensive coordinator or stops calling the sideline-to-sideline stuff, the offense still just isn't good. Like, that's a reality Mizzou fans have to accept. The offense this year is not good, and it's mostly personnel-based, which, okay, if you want to criticize Eli Drinkwitz, criticize him for not having the personnel he should to run an effective offense. That's a valid criticism. I still trust him. I still believe in him to eventually bring in those guys, though, which is why I think it's ridiculous that people want to fire him, because it's not like Mizzou's getting blown out in these games. It's not like, you know, we're an embarrassment. You know, these are close losses. Mizzou has not lost an SEC game by more than 1 possession. But my point is, before I get too off topic, that loss is not on Eli Drinkwitz. Mizzou got absolutely hosed, and it wasn't just that last play either. I'm going to go over a few of the other ones too. I mean, you guys know what they are, but I'm still going to talk about them. And I'm not going to act like Mizzou played perfect either, and that, oh man, it's just not, you know, it's no one's fault that they lost. At some point, the players have to execute, sure. I'm just not putting this game on Eli Drinkwitz. I think that's ridiculous. Mizzou did not lose this game because of Eli Drinkwitz. So, a couple other things in this game that, you know, didn't go Mizzou's way because of the refs. Towards the end of the first half, Kentucky got a phantom first down on a play. It was 3rd and 1. The handoff to Chris Rodriguez. Chris Rodriguez not only doesn't make the first down, gets tackled for a loss. And somehow the ball gets spotted for a first down, and it wasn't even close. Everyone could see it on TV. Even Mizzou was celebrating as they got the stop, and then all of a sudden the refs say it's first down. What? How? How are SEC refs this incompetent, and how come they're this incompetent every time it just happens to be Mizzou is involved in the game? Like, that's Colorado 5th down type stuff. That's stuff that happens like once in a program's history. But to Mizzou, or for Mizzou, it just seems to happen every other week. Then, in the second half, there was the fumble that Mizzou's defense forced, and they had the lead, and they were pretty much going to win the game had they gotten the ball back there. It's called a fumble. It's ruled a fumble. Chris Rodriguez fumbles the ball, and Ennis Rakeshaw recovers. Then the refs go to look at it, and despite the replay showing the ball moving before he was down and the ball coming out, and look, I can understand why people don't think it's a fumble, but what has always been the rule? If there's not enough evidence to overturn, the call on the field has to stand. There was not nearly enough evidence to overturn the fact that that was a fumble, because the refs called it a fumble on the field, and during the replay you could see the ball come out and the ball moving before he went down to the ground or before he was down, right? Well, nope, they overturned it anyway. So, that feels like a call that if it was the other way around, they call it a fumble on Mizzou. But no, in this case, Kentucky gets saved. Oh, yeah, and then there was the 15-yard penalty for the scuffle on the sidelines. They called that 15-yard penalty on Mizzou despite Kentucky players throwing punches and one of Kentucky's coaches on the sideline shoving one of our players. But no, Kentucky doesn't get any penalties. No, just Mizzou. And then, towards the end of the game, there was the targeting call on number 6 for Kentucky's defense. And the refs look at it for targeting. They show clear upward motion to the head neck area of Dominic Lovett. And then they're like, oh, no, not targeting. Well, the rules clearly state upward motion to the head or neck area. That hit was definitely an upward motion to the head or neck area. And meanwhile, the commentators are like, oh, no, that's shoulder to shoulder. It's clean. Well, by the SEC's rules that are literally written and they displayed it on the screen, that was targeting. And if that isn't targeting, why did Nick Bolton get ejected against Arkansas a couple years ago? And they called that targeting because it was the exact same type of hit, the exact same type of motion. So Mizzou just got fucked 5 different ways in this one. Literally, they did. And sorry for the language, but I'm just fired up about this game. And now this is the part of the video where I start to sound like a broken record because besides the terrible officiating, the reason Mizzou lost is the offense was terrible and the defense, once again, a great performance wasted, right? That's what I've said for basically every loss this year. But to go a little bit more in depth, look, Brady Cook, he is not it. We knew this. And it's like, just when you think he's playing better, this is the most frustrating part about Brady Cook, is he's actually not horrible. But every time he gets you to think, oh yeah, he's back on track, he's starting to improve, back-breaking turnover. Like the fumble when he tried to pump fake at the line of scrimmage in the first half. Awful play that you absolutely cannot have. And again, he just struggles to hit receivers accurately. There was, on the same drive, I think Mizzou scored their first touchdown of the game. He went to Barrett Bannister on 2nd down, and Bannister was wide open. There was no one even in the vicinity of Bannister, and Cook just totally missed him. And then on the first 2-point conversion, after Mizzou's first touchdown, Brady Cook, once again, if he just threw it accurately, it is a 2-point conversion complete to Barrett Bannister. Just totally misses him, and it's not even close. And, he was open. And it was a 5-yard play. So Brady Cook, he, tried to rifle it in there when he didn't need to. Bannister was right there. And I'll give Brady Cook a little bit of credit. He's a tough guy. He led a couple of touchdown drives, especially with that one where he did the spin move on the big run. That was gritty. You have to give him credit for that. But also, Mizzou isn't in that situation where they need Brady Cook to dig them out of the hole if Brady Cook never put them in the hole in the first place. And Brady Cook, unfortunately, just did not make enough plays to win today's game. And that's kind of the story of all the Mizzou losses, really. If Mizzou just makes a couple more plays against Auburn, if they make a couple more plays against Florida, if they make a couple more plays against Georgia, those are all wins. If Mizzou has a competent quarterback, they are up to like 7 or 8 wins right now. Like, that's the reality. And I get why people are frustrated at Drinkwitz, and you would have liked Drinkwitz to get a quarterback from the transfer portal, or you would like to see Sam Horn. I would like to see Sam Horn. And to be honest, I can't really explain why we didn't see Sam Horn today after how bad Brady Cook looked for a while. But, you know, I'm willing to give it time because I think this team really is. I mean, there's a couple other pieces. Like, they need a couple more offensive linemen, probably, maybe another impact receiver. But for the most part, they're a quarterback away. They are a quarterback away from winning these games. And, you know, I really wish I was talking about the defense after a win because they were phenomenal today. And they weren't perfect, but you can't ask them to be perfect. You know, it's just unfair to them. Holding a team to 21 points in the SEC traditionally should win you the game. For Mizzou, it's a different story because of the inept offense. And one more note about the offense, actually, because I know people want Eli Drinkwitz to hire an offensive coordinator, and there's still people complaining about the play calling, as I've said. And I mentioned it already. Like, guys, they've tried to push the ball downfield. They've tried the traditional running game. That doesn't work either, which is why you see a lot of the cutesy stuff from Eli Drinkwitz. Like, fixing this offense isn't as simple as bringing in an offensive coordinator. What plays are you supposed to call that are going to work with this Mizzou personnel? Tell me. I would love for someone to explain that to me. And look, I'm not against Mizzou bringing in an offensive coordinator. Not at all. I would like to see a little bit different stuff sometimes. But I would love for someone to explain to me how a different play caller fixes this offense. Seriously, I would love to hear that in the comments. If any of you who are just like done with Drinkwitz, you think his offensive play calling sucks, and look, it hasn't been great, hasn't been perfect, I will admit that. I don't think it's the reason Mizzou lost today. I think it's been better lately, and I think people are not wanting to give Drinkwitz credit. A lot of people want him to bring in an OC. I would like to see him bring in an OC. But fixing this offense is not as simple as bringing in an OC. Anyway, I digress. The defense. They had an absolutely fantastic game. 6 sacks on the day. Darius Robinson, Isaiah McGuire, Trajan Jeffcoat, DJ Coleman. These guys just can get after it. 6 sacks today versus Kentucky. I mean, they just feasted on that Kentucky O-line. And Will Levis did not look great. And I honestly, after today, I don't get the Will Levis, I don't even know how you say it. I don't get the hype with him. I really don't. Like, he's being touted as this next big NFL prospect. I don't see it with him, to be honest. He had a couple good throws. Didn't look great to me. And besides the first offensive drive for Kentucky, secondary looked really good today, in my opinion. Shout out Ennis Rakestraw. Last several weeks, that guy has really come on. Yeah, he gave up a touchdown at the beginning of the game, but you know, he recovered what should have been a fumble. He had a few nice tackles today. He was flying around, forced a really good incompletion at one point. I forget what point it was in the game, but he has just been fantastic. Ever since, you know, people kind of wrote him off after he tore his ACL. And look, he was not good last year. Like, I'm just being honest. But he has really improved, and I'm really glad to see that kind of progression from him because I've wanted it for him so bad. So shout out Ennis Rakestraw. Also, Joseph Charleston continues to be this team's best blitzing defensive back. He had a sack today himself, and he almost forced a fumble on Will Levis, which might have been a turning point in the game had he done that, but Will Levis was able to hold on to the ball. But Joseph Charleston had a really nice sack coming around the edge, and he really showed off his speed on that as well. And since the last time I made a Mizzou-related video, Mizzou actually extended Blake Baker, and they gave him a raise, which I am so happy because I don't know where Mizzou would be without Blake Baker and his defense. It's so important that they locked him up. It's important for recruiting. It's important because, well, you don't want Blake Baker to get poached by another school. And look, he still could. It's entirely possible a team really likes what Blake Baker has done here and hires him elsewhere. But this makes it less likely that happens and that Mizzou keeps him around. They also mentioned it on the broadcast today. Even when Mizzou was 2-4, Eli Drinkwitz went to the board of curators and said, look, we have to find a way to lock up Blake Baker. And I'm just really happy that it looks like he's here to stay. Because if we can get this kind of defense again next year and assume, you know, Mizzou's offense is able to improve and they're able to attack the transfer portal, this Mizzou team could be really, really good next year. And they have some guys that they'll probably have to replace on defense too, but I'm confident that they will. Again, it sucks that this defensive performance really doesn't matter because Mizzou lost, but I'm proud of that unit. Offense is a different story. You know, we got to see more out of them. There's still a couple winnable games left on the schedule. Obviously, New Mexico State, that should be a win. I still think this team can beat Arkansas. Arkansas just got embarrassed by Liberty. So they can still get to 6-6. Tennessee, that'll be a challenge, but we've seen Drinkwitz go toe-to-toe with the number 1 team in the country already once this season. I mean, I wouldn't pick Mizzou to win that game, but I think it could be a lot more competitive than people think. So we'll just have to see. Yeah, this loss sucks. It really hurt. Mizzou's always finding new ways to lose. I hate it. I hate it for the players because those players, despite everything that's happened this year, they play hard. They play hard for Drinkwitz. They haven't given up. I don't expect them to give up. You know, that team shows heart. They're tough. I just would like to see it turn into wins at some point, like all of you guys. I get it. But those are my thoughts on the game, my thoughts in general. Hopefully you guys enjoyed my little rant. Screw Kentucky. Mizzou should have won today. It sucks. Oh, well. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe so more Mizzou fans can find this. Check out my work on showmefootball.com. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.